All right, let me get this link shared out. Give everyone a couple minutes to get in here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're making some money. Share this on Twitter. All right. Well, this live stream is going to be predominantly for traders, and I'm going to talk about some setups that I'm looking at trading, how I'm trading them, and what I think the best approach is, at least for me, to add some risk into the bull run. Definitely want to get out of the way before it all comes down for a big correction. There's still lots of opportunities. I have a lot of stuff pulled up on the chart here. What I want to just talk about here is just trending structure, because right now, pretty much on every time frame, you have one setup that you're kind of looking for, which is, it doesn't really matter what it is, it's grinding uptrending price action. So this is on XRP, just this really clean grinding trending structure on all these different time frames. This is happening over and over and over and over again for big impulses to the upside. So really nice way to add some risk with clean invalidation. Now, of course, I'm talking to traders. If you're not a trader, you don't know how to manage your risk, manage positions, then it doesn't really matter what you're doing. You're going to make some really big mistakes and probably get wrecked. But if you're in that stage where you're learning, it's a great opportunity to put on some paper trades. Looking at Peanut here, I would be up an insane amount if I didn't get stop run while I was sleeping for the amount of risk in that trade. But anyways, right now I'm looking for higher on Bitcoin, and if I've timed the live stream right, maybe we'll even see a new all-time high during this live stream. Right now we have big bullish divs forming on Bitcoin, and I'll kind of talk about what I'm looking at. It's really speculative, but it's the kind of thing I wouldn't be surprised to see. First, we'll take a quick look at order flow, and it is decidedly quite bullish. We've just locally here, we're just seeing all this aggressive selling getting absorbed into higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, CVD making new lows, and it really is a bit of a theme here in this whole uptrend. Just big bullish div impulse, big bullish div impulse, bullish divs all on these local time frames. And so I was saying into the Discord yesterday, by the way, so I am looking for higher here, and there's some ideas I'm going to talk about around 100K, and maybe we could see a correction back down to this 85K, and that could be a nice continuation idea as well. But I was saying in the Discord yesterday that it's really just about doing your best to observe what is happening here and not getting too caught up on what you think is possible, and then just taking making reasonable decisions. So I'm going to just show this really quickly and talk a little bit about this. You can still look for long opportunities to add to longs, whether it's on altcoins or Bitcoin, up at the highs. Just make sure that you're making reasonable decisions with invalidation. And I still think the trades here are long for me. Those are the trades I'm looking for. But hold on, let me go to this. All right. So what I want to talk about briefly is over the last few days, I had some ideas I was looking for, and it's really, we're at price discovery. It's just saying, hey, what are some different things I would look for? Well, if we start grinding up here with big bullish divs, this is a 2020 bull run. If we just start seeing this, then I'm just going to be looking for longs off higher lows for a continuation. And this was up at 90K. And so just over the next couple days, I had some longs ideas for taking these lows. But what ends up happening, we'll come back down to here, is we end up just pointing this out here. We have big bullish divs here forming. This is a couple days ago. And then here again, just big bullish divergences forming, and we start to see what looks like, this is yesterday, this kind of grinding, trending price action starting to form. And so what I said is, this is one of those instances where you can think we have to have some sort of pullback now because we've just gone straight up to 90K. But I guess the objective fact is we still have massive bullish divergences forming on every consolidation on the 5-minute chart. And that's just an objective fact. It doesn't mean price has to go up, but in this instance, you're really trying to just objectively analyze what is happening, not muddy the water with what you think is possible. Anything is possible, and we might just keep going straight up. So for me, this isn't a FOMO type idea. We have structure here, we have bullish divergences, and invalidation. You can use risk management. Is the play to short here just because price has gone up a lot, or we're consolidating with big bullish divergences not long after we see an impulse into the highs here? And I'm actually gonna go to XRP here as well. So I was sharing this in the Discord as well, which was I have an XRP long from lower. But even still, as we come back down to retest this trend line, there's still, in my view, opportunities. And we're going to look at some of those on the chart. So what I was pointing out here is just this looks like this rounded grinding structure if we see a really bullish continuation. And even up here, there's some ideas of putting on risk, right? So what's the idea here? This is the 15-minute chart. Well, you can put on a little bit of risk as a trader. And if you get stopped out on that leg, that's fine. You know, you just size appropriately. But the whole idea here is on the 1-minute chart, on the high time frame, we have this big trend line breakout, retest. On the low time frames, the 1-minute chart here, we're just grinding up on this trend line. And literally, as I was just explaining that we're just grinding up on this trend line, breaking out this local resistance, we just get this big straight up impulse right after that, right? So this is the kind of structure you're really looking at. Here, another one. You know, we're 1-minute chart, grinding, impulse, grinding, another big impulse to the upside. So these are nice areas to add on a little bit of risk, in my view, into bullish market structure. And they're not all gonna hold, right? But the risk reward for continuation on some of these is quite good. I was just pointing out a little bit before the live stream. Again, we're on this grinding structure. It's holding up, and things are looking kind of sendy. Just saying, XRP looks like it wants to send. Just if we hold this trend line, it's a nice idea for continuation. And I'm going to talk a little bit about XRP on the live stream. So this is the idea, right? Looking a little sendy. If we can hold this up, we have major levels overhead, big bullish ideas for pushing towards all-time highs, some big bullish Elliot wave counts. We have some really reactive, likely to be reactive levels, or we just rip through them, right? So these big daily highs up at 75 cents, up at 97 cents, those are going to be big levels to watch, see what's happening. Obviously, XRP hasn't handled these highs too well in the past, so we'll see if we can rip through them this time or not. But yeah, I've been long on Doge from much lower, and I found some really nice, clean, long setups into this trending structure as well. So long from almost the peak of bottom, around 9 cents. But again, this same kind of setup into these really bullish ideas. And I started scalping into this, just adding into longs, and I targeting 42 cents and got some amazing positions as well with that kind of same idea, right? Just looking for this kind of, I've said it's almost been like free money. You just long, a little bit of risk, tight invalidation into these trending, grinding structures. And maybe now we have a bit of a range forming. This might be a nice setup, maybe on Pepe as well. Or maybe we just keep going straight up. So those are the kinds of setups I'm looking for. Grinding structures into impulses and just using risk management. Yeah, so I'm gonna go over some Bitcoin ideas I'm more interested in a moment, or kind of the general ideas I'm looking for. We'll see if we can get an impulse off this big bullish divergence. And like I said, maybe it comes on the live stream. Just want to pull something up real quick. 1 second. Okay, so we're going to go over an Elliot wave idea. I just want to pull something up. I don't think I'm actually going to find it. Now, I'm going to point out, it's not about being right or wrong here. I mean, it's just a fact that we're holding up a trending structure. We have big bullish divergences forming. It may or may not hold into something like this, or even come back down to test these lows. That's why you have invalidation, right, as a trader. So the big thing is, you don't want to look at it as a prediction necessarily. It's just observing objective facts and then trying to make reasonable decisions based on those objective facts. So for me, the objective fact is big bullish divergences. And as of now, I see no reason not to be looking for higher. We have this trending structure on the low time frames, this one on the higher time frames, which I'm about to talk about. Maybe we can come back down and take these lows. I wouldn't mind seeing an impulse to the upside before we do that. There's nice local setups here, in my view. So what I want to talk about is this Elliot wave idea. I talked about it on the on my last live stream. I think it was titled like the most bullish case for Bitcoin or something like that, a little bit before the breakout. Really, in price discovery, there's not a whole lot that you can do in terms of targets. You have fib extensions and maybe parallel structures or trending structures, like something like this, right? But there's a lot of fibs sitting up around 100K. And so if in the really bullish case, I'm going to clean this chart up, there's sort of nested Elliott wave ideas, which is we're in a big 3, 4, and maybe an extended wave 5 with a 1, 2, 1, 2 subwave 3, 4 up into this 3, 4. And so something like that could look like this. And this is actually exactly what I had drawn out from down here, looking at these types of fib extensions and then hypothetical retracements. So maybe we come up into the big psychological level of 100K. And what would be interesting about that is if we get a big impulse up to 100K out of this grinding structure with bullish divs, coming back down and retaking or taking these lows at 85K would be like this idea, right? The 3, 4, and then maybe we see continuation out of there. And we'd get some nice fib confluences. And if it comes really quickly, I'm going to get rid of this here in a second, or for a second. If it happens as a big impulse and rejection, we could see this trending confluence taking these lows, and this again would just be what it would be a bigger grinding uptrend, right? Choppy, grindy uptrend. That's how it would appear. But we would need to see this happen really quickly to come and take these lows into this trending structure after this new high. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had a big impulse to 100K. It's about 10% away. To see a really volatile reaction, probably a lot of, it's a big psychological level. There's going to be a lot of profit taking on an impulse like that, a lot of FOMO longing. And then we just keep grinding higher. So I'm long into this idea for an impulse that might get invalidated. These bullish dips might not hold, but I'm going to be looking to take profits aggressively on any kind of rejection here. And if I take profits and we just go higher, then there's going to be new long setups. And then we're going to be looking to add back down and a retest of this into the 85K level. That's kind of my general idea here. I think Bitcoin it could even go a lot higher than a lot of people are saying. I mean, a lot of people are saying a lot of things, but the 150K, 160, 170K region doesn't look out of touch at this point. And as we're sitting right around 100K, I don't think anyone would disagree. But anyways, if we just go straight down, then I'm just closing my longs, and there's, going to be opportunities to the downside. Not shorting here though. If I miss a short from the absolute top, that's okay with me, because I see no reason to short just locally. Nice little local idea here too. We just came right into the point of control, right into the local GP. Oops. For potentially another leg up. I would love to get this impulse on the live stream and we could watch order flow. But maybe not so lucky. I'll read through a few comments, and we will look at a bunch of altcoins here. Again, I am long on quite a few things. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Someone says, I sold too early and I'm on the sidelines at the moment. Is it reasonable for Bitcoin to drop to 78,000 and ETH to 2.8K? I'm going to answer that question more generally in a minute. Someone says, or is it up only mode where you can't really chart it on higher time frames? Same question, person. Ending diagonals can be scary. What about the CME gap at 80K? I honestly feel bad at the moment for taking profits too early. I feel left out, but it just does. I'm reading comments, but it just doesn't make sense for me to ape into something now with the CME gap and the 4-hour GP down at 78K. Same as for any alts, aping in now just feels wrong with these confluences to the downside. Someone says, so you trade Fibonacci a lot. Someone else said nobody went broke taking profit. Okay, well, I'm going to just share some of my thoughts generally here, which is, as a trader, it doesn't matter where price is. It does not matter where price is. I did a super long thread on this, and I actually covered it on one of the live streams as well, but I did in the members Discord, which is, you can think that, and I use this as an example, as we're coming up into this impulse, you can think, oh my God, I even this, there's no long opportunities. I missed everything. We have this grinding structure. We have this, up here, we have this. there were huge bullish divergences forming into this. And then even here, just massive long opportunities from a risk reward perspective, like multiple longs on the daily chart in here, and here, and there were clear reasons to take profits up here, like tight invalidation long setups. And I'd happen to short 73K, but even if even if you hadn't called a top here or looked for a top here, there was opportunities to take profits on all these longs. And so the point is, as price is grinding up higher and higher and higher here, as a trader, it depends what your perspective is. If you just want to sit in a position and have no invalidation for your ideas, no context for the time frame, well then, yeah, the odds of, if you just spot buy here and then, come back in a couple weeks and see if you're in profit, it's a little bit of a risky proposition. But if you're watching the charts every single day and you're willing to use local invalidation, I mean, I just added to my longs here on XRP, and we're literally going straight up. But why am I adding to my longs? Why am I willing to put on a little bit of risk? Well, there's really bullish ideas for much higher. And even here, right, you could say, oh, there's no long opportunities now. We've already impulsed. I have to wait for this low to get taken, or whatever it is, right? Well, if we just start grinding up on trending structure, there's opportunities to just try longs. Like imagine this. Same with Doge here. Were there any long opportunities here without major retracements? Yeah. Because you have really clean invalidation, which is, you could say, even here, you could say, you know what, I'm going to get long for some of these deeper targets. And if we don't hold up this trending structure, I'll just cut it. Put on a little bit of risk. And, maybe I get dinged for a 1% stop loss or whatever that risk profile is. Again, that's for traders, right? If you aren't taking the approach of understanding the setup, invalidating it, then it's easy to get wrecked, because what people can do is they can say, okay, we're in a really bullish uptrend, I am going to try to long this, and this happens, and then they say, I think we're going to bounce, I can't cut, and then they just ride it all the way back down, and they don't have any experience and understanding just taking a loss and just looking for a new setup. I, in fact, took a loss on Doge yesterday, trading into some of this trending structure on the low time frames. And I just cut the trade. It happens. The whole idea is you just want your wins to be bigger than your losses. Use invalidation. It's a nice idea there. So the point is this. Let me just make sure I'm on the right screen. For one, there's going to be endless opportunities in the market. It literally doesn't matter where price is. There's always things to trade. You can trade anything almost anywhere. And so focus on developing skills if you're an inexperienced trader, and your main goal is to protect your capital. But the point is, you could look at it from two different perspectives. You could say, oh, I'm FOMO longing 90K. We've gone straight up to 90K, and I'm gonna FOMO long. I don't want to FOMO long. I'm gonna wait for a retracement, 75K, 60K, something like that. But if you're looking at the charts here, you could also just say, you know what? I wouldn't mind a deep retracement. I wouldn't mind some kind of liquidity grab, and I'd be interested in trading that if we get it. I'm not saying we can't get it. I'm not saying I wouldn't be interested if we did get it, But what I am seeing here is, well, we're just grinding up on this trending structure with big bullish divergences in order flow. And why don't I just try some longs? Why don't I just try some longs for continuation? Just size this so I'm completely content with, if I get stopped out, I'll just try again lower. But there's lots of opportunities. I'll probably take some losses. You can only add so much risk. And if you get invalidated, just cut the trade and you say, okay, local structure stopped holding up. And you know, I'd mentioned this. This was on the weekend. We had huge bullish divergences forming here on Saturday. So let me just go back here. Bullish divergence is quite large here on Saturday. That was right that low. Obviously ended up with another big leg up off of it. But I've noticed there's those were forming all weekend. I've noticed that there's an issue that some people have, which is they're really thinking about the wrong thing. And this happens a lot with members, which is they're really not concerned about what price is doing. They're not concerned about what order flow is doing. They're concerned about what everyone else is doing, and in particular what I'm doing. And I feel like people get stuck into analysis paralysis, where they're not sure if I'm long. They're not sure if it's, they don't trust themselves to make a decision on their own. They might, there's a member, and I think he'd be okay with me sharing this. It's definitely not putting him on blast at all, but he seems not to be taking a lot of his setups, and he has some great setups. I've actually traded some of his setups. Here. So I'm trying to encourage members just to stop worrying about what I'm doing and start looking at the charts, right? Huge bullish divergences into this whole uptrend. And one of the reasons I like to point those out is because it's sort of like, it's like building that pattern recognition, right? Because it's really, things look a lot different in hindsight than they look live. Like, for example, you could just not even see these bullish divergences in order flow live, right? Like that's where I said seems important. You don't know these are going to form into this uptrend. You have some really choppy order flow here, and then all of a sudden over the weekend, just a massive sell-off with one huge sell-off happening in this little, we have some really big bullish divergences form. And that is something as a trader you can just react to. You can just say, whoa, huge bullish divergences forming here. These seem really important. Huge bullish divergences forming. They don't exist, and you just see some massive selling pressure getting absorbed. Bullish divergences here are just saying there's really aggressive selling, and limit traders are just holding price up and pushing it higher. And again, it's just like here. It's not, you'll see that sometimes there's a big bullish divergence, and price goes lower and it just gets bigger. It doesn't mean, you know, here, there's a bullish divergence here, and then price goes a little bit lower, and there's still a bullish divergence, it's just a little bit bigger, right? And sometimes they break down. They're not always gonna hold for a higher low, but they're quite important. Here, let me pull this up. Oh, I was just pointing out that this member shared multiple posts, like on Doge here, before this leg up. He said, Doge, why not? And he posts just this, it's almost the same, exact same structure as we have on Bitcoin here, actually. This trending structure with the local GP into a big impulse, and he said, Doge, why not? And shares this setup. And then price just rallies straight off of it. And he didn't take any share of that a few times. But I think there's a lot of people that just, they aren't trusting themselves to make some mistakes. And potentially, they aren't using proper risk management, right? So just keep the risk reasonable. Plan some setups. Look at what's going on. I'm trying to kind of snap some people out of things. I'm just looking at my phone here for a second. Getting hit with some alerts. One second. Okay, so I'm gonna keep an eye on things here, but you can watch my last live stream because I covered some of this in it. But anyways, this was a couple weeks ago. I was just saying that if we do break out to all-time highs, there's gonna be a ton of opportunities, and I just had shared how many long setups I took. I went back to the start of the year up into this, right? How many long setups there were trading towards all-time highs. And we are going to look at the charts here. Maybe something kind of interesting happening in order flow. Okay, here I said, many, if not most of my updates are designed to help you grow as traders, to think through what you are doing and why. Please break through the cognitive barrier of what is Lucky doing and step into reality. The questions you need to ask yourself is not what is Lucky doing, it's at every given moment, but what am I doing and why, right? Think through what are you doing and why. I do my best to update what I think is relevant and objectively true, but don't get overly focused on trying to figure out what I am doing. Trust yourself to make some decisions and even some mistakes, okay? Because what happens here is, on one hand, you might be looking for some retracements, and then on the other hand, we just keep forming massive bullish divergences. Really big bullish divergences. Really big bullish divergences. I punted, the funny thing is, I punted 1000x long off of this. A little bit of a meme, a little bit of a joke. But off this big bullish divergences, but it got stopped out 0.1% invalidation right before that leg up. But anyways, just saying, you know, there's huge bullish divergences here. You have to, at some point, you just have to snap out of whatever's holding you back from just putting on a little bit of risk as a trader, right? And it includes paper trading. I mean, I in fact have talked to people who they get frozen with fear taking a paper trade off of something like that. And if they lose a paper trade, and I'm not judging them or anything, I understand the idea. If they lose a paper trade, it ruins their day. They feel really depressed. They feel their self-worth and all that stuff. And so obviously people are really struggling with this idea of losing. And I'm going to talk about one more thing here because it's so important. And then we are just going to start charting the shit out of a bunch of stuff, okay? We're going to start charting a bunch of stuff. All right. Again, this is just from the members Discord. Somebody said, this was yesterday, they said, recent post is ringing in my ears. I took a loss overnight on Radium, woke up to these 3 setups. I didn't take any of them because I didn't want to lose any more trades. And so I wanted to respond to that. I said, I just received this in chat. I want to say a few words that may help everyone struggling with this to overcome it. Losing a trade should change nothing about the trades you take. Except trading is a probabilistic environment, which means it's more like a coin toss than anything else. People argue with me. They say it's not a coin toss because a coin, you know it's a probabilistic outcome, right? Just accept that. You do not know what's going to happen. If you think you know what's going to happen, then you have some fundamental misunderstanding of just because the thing you thought was going to happen doesn't mean you know what's going to happen, right? It's a probabilistic outcome. It might work, it might not. Except trading is a probabilistic environment, which means it's more like a coin toss than anything else. It could be a weighted coin, but the outcome of each trade is a random event. If you were given the 30 to 70% weighted coin, and you have a middle school understanding of probabilities, you would know that you are going to see tails 30% of the time on average. Does it make sense to start off saying, you get the coin, you say, I know for a fact that it is unavoidable that I will lose on average 30% of the coin flips. I will make unlimited money anyways because I have a 70% advantage. All that matters is how I size my bets and that I keep betting over and over again, right? And so all that matters is that you size your bets appropriately so you don't blow up when you run into big loss streaks, because those will happen if you flip the coin enough time, even with the 30-70. And then as soon as you get a loss, you say, oh my God, what the fuck? I'm not betting again. I thought that I was going to win. And that's kind of what happens in trading is you kind of go into it knowing I'm going to lose some, I'm going to win some. This is kind of the general idea of what I'm trying to do. But for some reason, losing hits you so hard that it stops you from taking another trade or a great setup, right? And it really shouldn't. It shouldn't matter if you won your last trade or you lost your last trade. The outcome of your next trade has nothing to do with the outcome of your last trade. I said, if you saw someone say that, you would think they were an absolute idiot. And you would try to explain to them that they aren't betting on the outcoin of specific coin flips, but over a bunch of coin flips. You're saying you have a 70% chance to go heads every time. You're going to get tails. It's okay. You're not an idiot because you bet on heads. If you are thinking, I don't want to take another loss, and then making trading decisions based on your last loss, then you have a very unhealthy relationship with losing trades. Instead of accepting that it's a part of your trading system, you're trying to avoid an unavoidable part of your trading system. And so think of it like this. You have been given the coin as a trader when you have an edge, and you're just trying to bet on it. And you know it's an unavoidable fact that you're going to lose some of the coin flips, and you're okay with that. You're saying, somebody could say, why would you bet? It could land on tails. And you say, yeah, I know. I'm going to bet anyways. And when it lands on tails, they'll say, do you feel bad? Do you feel stupid? No. Why would I feel stupid? I don't know if it's going to be heads or tails. I just know I have an edge here. And so that's the idea of trading, right? You don't have to feel stupid. You don't have to feel worried. You don't have to feel scared. You do have to manage your risk, and you do have to understand the edge in your system and what you're trading. But losing in itself shouldn't be something that changes your trading at all. It should be accepted as a part of your trading system. And I was just curious here how many people, a lot of people in the chat were posting new long setups without these deep retracements. And I was just curious what percentage of people were finding new long setups over the last few days and what percentage of people weren't. All right, let's get into the charts. I'll skim through the comments really quickly, and then we're going to chart a bunch of stuff. This is a good question to start on. Somebody says, hey, Lucky, do you think ADA USDT has finished its retrace or has it more to go like Doge? So by retrace, I guess you probably mean impulse, maybe. I'm going to go to the ADA chart in a second here. All right. Similarly to some other alts, I think ADA could see a lot higher. We have some trending structure here. Local GP. I got front run on this long, and I missed this entire breakout. I wasn't even paying attention to it. But I did have that kind of general plan there. But here's the thing I would say. It doesn't matter what I think because I don't know what's going to happen, right? So I could think a million different things about ADA. Let's look at what is happening and how might I consider structuring trades around what is happening. It's a very important distinction, the difference between the types of trade setups you're interested in and what you think is going to happen, right? It's actually one of my least favorite questions when people ask, do you think we could go higher? Do you think the bottom is in? Do you think this? It's like, who cares? Because what can you do with that information? I don't even trade off of that information, right? I don't even trade off of what I think could happen or would happen. I'm trying to identify what is happening, structure ideas to take trades off of, and where I would invalidate them, what I would target, and then just make decisions based off of what is happening. So, you know, what is happening? We have a kind of a strong uptrend after breaking out of a downtrend and consolidation. I mean, frankly, pulled from the impulse. This is just a perfect tap of the 618. Some members took this trade. I actually had this idea. I think I got front run slightly. But I saw some members posting their P&L cards off of this. I had this idea just up higher. This idea of just coming down and taking some of this local structure into the local GP. But yeah, I don't know. I would say, I mean, maybe this turns into some grinding uptrending structure. You know, looking at this, look at this downtrend. Someone just driving price down into that liquidity. This nice little double bottom into the GP. I mean, what I would say is, it's not about what I think is going to happen, but if I was interested in putting on a long here, which maybe I am, something like this would look kind of nice as a local try. Come down, take these lows if price is reacting, claiming them, just try to chase for another leg up. Alternatively, we have this kind of potential grinding structure that hasn't been retested yet. That could be another idea. Just saying, well, if we hold this up, maybe I'll try. I think as far as local ideas go, those are the two most local ones. And then if all of this just breaks down, taking this low again, which honestly I don't mind. It's very similar to the Moodang setup here. This was the idea up here, coming down, which is why I was interested in this. This is another setup you could look at for deep retracements. It's sort of been jokingly called Lucky's setup. So after a big impulse, I'm going to show a couple examples. All right. So this was just me sharing the setup. So I said XRP still holding choppy, grindy uptrend for now, 15-minute chart. and just explain the breakout and all of that stuff. Let me go here. Okay. Can we move back up? Okay, okay, updating ADA now because there will be too much to update if all these levels hit. So I was just saying that I was interested in this setup. I was saying it earlier. I give a lot of updates here. I want to go to the original setup here. The reason I'm looking for these types of setups is these are really strong ideas after an impulse. You have a big impulse and then price comes back down right into the 618 for continuation. And I'm going to show it on Moodang. Oh, I typed in the scammer version of my name. Okay, this is the original post on ADA. Looking for that. But this was the idea on Moodang. What did I type in? How isn't the original chart coming up? Well, oh, it's because I updated it off my phone and I was out on the weekend. All right, well, that was the setup on, sorry, this took way too long. So you have this big impulse and then you have the 618 retracement down into this low. Just a really nice idea for that continuation long setup. Nero was actually at a similar level, but this was the original idea. So you have the big impulse and then you come down to the 618. This was that Moodang long. And we ended up with a really nice, clean reaction off that level for, obviously, we're up hundreds of % now. But yeah, so anyways, something to look out for. Very similar to what we just got on ADA, the big impulse into the 618, another big leg up, potentially, which would make me more interested in just not taking these lows and looking for some of these continuation setups. But there was this setup on the 15-minute chart on Moodang. %300%. I'm actually interested in a similar idea on Pepe if we get it. The 618 right now aligns with a retest of all-time highs and all of these local lows. So if we get this, I would trade it. I would put on a little bit of risk, a retest of all-time highs. But if you start seeing the grinding structure after the initial impulse, there might be some other setups to look at. So yeah, the two big things I'm looking for, you know what, I actually missed. I was looking at this afterwards. I think this was just impulse GP, a series of impulses and GPs on XRP. Yeah, I mean, it's literally pretty much every single low. From the last consolidation, impulse, GP, impulse, GP, impulse, GP. And actually in the 15-minute time frame, there was one in here as well. This was actually a perfect GP. impulse, GP. So it's happening on a lot of time frames after big impulses. In fact, this one ran through it. This is also the GP. Somebody asked if I use Fibonacci. Yes. By the way, there's a bunch of scammers trying to pretend to be me in the Discord. Sometimes when I'm searching like I just did, I accidentally type in their names. Okay. I need to, so I want to follow up on this. The person who said they feel bad being sidelined, they say, I'm trading actively, but probably mind broken since this bear market, haha, but higher time frames equals stronger probability, right? Question mark. Listen, there are, without a doubt, higher probability ways to set up trades than there are lower probability ways to set up trades. But a lower probability trade is not a bad thing. And so let me put it this way. For example, I mean, I guess this could have been traded differently. I took a 50x $1,000 long on peanut here, so $50,000 position size. I went to sleep. I didn't really think it was gonna work. I just kind of saw it, and I just been printing off of a ton of these setups on Doge, and I said I was kind of looking for this sort of idea, honestly, just coming down and running the liquidity. But I just took it. I barely got stopped out, and then I woke up to this off of a $50,000 position. So hey, that was a kind of a low probability setup, but it was about 0.03% from printing hundreds of thousands of dollars off of $1,000 of risk. And so the point is, you can be so focused on getting a high probability setup, but there's plenty of, for one, some of these trending structures are actually quite high probability, especially if you start to see, like, if they start looking like this really rounded look when you zoom out a little bit. It's not just about the trending structure. There's kind of like a grinding, rounded look. This is a really good example on a low time frame. Before an impulse, those really like to end in impulses. Not always, but they're quite high probability. It's a little subjective about what is rounded and grindy, but that's how I refer to it. Is this rounded, grinding price action likes to end in big impulses. And this is kind of starting to get that look, which I was pointing out a couple days ago. Like, you maybe have to use your imagination a little bit, but you could imagine this turning into a rounded, grinding structure quite easily, especially off bullish divergences. But the reason you shouldn't be so high cut up on high probability is this. A 30% win rate of 5-hour trades prints unlimited money. Okay, it prints unlimited money. A 30% win rate. So what the relationship with losing is obviously wrong. It's unhealthy. If somebody told you, I'm going to give you $5, I'm going to give you $5 for every dollar you risk, and here's a coin, and it lands, but you can only bet on heads, and it lands on heads 30% of the time. You'd say, okay, that's going to print me unlimited money. You wouldn't say, ooh, I don't want to do that because it's not high probability. It's low probability. I have a 70% chance of losing every coin flip, but you're getting 5 to 1. So you just flip it. And so that's the whole point, is if you're so focused on high probability as the only metric on which you take trades, you're missing so many opportunities, which is this doesn't have to be particularly high probability on peanut for me to take a stab at it. Oh, this is a bad example because it didn't work. Maybe it's a good example because it didn't work. Because I print on $1,000 of risk, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So even if that's, let's just say that I said, what do you think the odds are that this holds up for another big leg up to the upside on peanut? And somebody said, low probability, 25%. I said, okay, so I have a 25% to make 500 times my risk. Would I take that trade or not take it because it's low probability? No. It's low probability, but I get 500 to 1 on my money, so I should just take it. So that's all I would say. But you have to understand your system. But if you're the standard amount of risk on any given setup, now there's people who trade with really high win rates, and they trade high win rates and low risk reward. So they could be trading very like sub 1R. So they risk $1 to make 50 cents, but they trade with a 90% win rate. And how are they doing that? They're trading really wide setups. They're taking profits really aggressively. So they're in and out the market with setups that, you could think like this. What are your odds of losing if like all your setups, you could really increase your win rate a lot if you're saying like, oh, I'm willing to trade something like this, take profits. I'm not cutting unless this happens, and size appropriately. So this is a 1% stop loss. You're gonna have a pretty high win rate. You're able to get out of a lot of trades, the high win rate. But if you're trading like with a win rate like that, you can probably risk more than 1%. But if a standard is 1%, 1% risk per trade. And if you're risking 1% per trade, and you have something like a 30% win rate, or 40% win rate, or even a 25% win rate, especially in these environments with these trending ideas, you can still do quite well. So I really just wouldn't be so concerned, or I wouldn't have the only concern being high win rate, high probability, because it's not the only thing you should care about. If you get into an environment where you have a 20% chance of printing 500 extra risk, I'm not saying that's, I'm making an extreme example, then you really got to throw your concerns about, you just take a bunch of small bets on lower probability, high return trades, and you manage your risk. Bro, this is a great opportunity to learn how to trade different environments. You know what? If you don't print a ton of money in this, I'm trying every day in the Discord to like pointing out a bajillion of these setups, and it looks like a lot of people have been enjoying it and are maybe breaking through some barriers here. I'm seeing a lot of setups that it looks like people are taking a little bit more aggressively in terms of trending structures. But yeah, you know what? This is an opportunity to learn. Like, I just would say this. There's no reason to be putting on a bunch of risk with ideas you're not familiar with, you've never traded before, styles you're not familiar with. But there's no reason to not be getting into a paper trading account and putting these types of setups. You could be finding 5, 10, 15 a day and just seeing how it plays out. Put on 1% risk and just keep putting the setups on. I mean, on these lower time frames, the setups that you're trading didn't exist 20 minutes ago, right? Or 15 minutes ago, or an hour ago, or 4 hours ago. Like the structure's forming like that, grinding, bullish divergences, impulsing, grinding, bullish divergences, impulsing, and we're just not getting any deep retracements. And so you look at the charts, you analyze where things are at, and so for the same things happened to me on Bitcoin here multiple times, where it's like, okay, well, hey, I wouldn't mind something like this, and we come down here, and then what happens is over the next 4 hours, we just start grinding up with huge bullish divergences. Okay, even here, it's like, okay, well, I'd be interested in these levels down here, but but I said, or this is here, or if we start chopping around here, putting in higher lows with big bullish divergences, then I'm just going to look for this grinding impulsive structure to continue. Those are the two ideas. We have some trap longs up here. There's some interesting levels down here. Or if we just start grinding with big bullish market structure, but I don't know if that's going to happen until it happens, right? Okay, right here, it became quite clear that's what was happening. Changing your mind as a trader can, there's a lot of things, which is, you know, there's so many things that can stop you from changing your mind. I do want to get into charts here. As many people know, I had a swing short idea here in this for a higher low, not taking this 70K high, putting a higher low around 67K and down to $42,000. But when we broke out of this, the swing short idea, I just said, hey, the whole idea was putting in lower highs, faking out a higher low, and then breaking down, and that's clearly not happening. So I'm switching to a bullish thesis of just through all-time highs, and I think the next chart I posted was the parabolic move to 150K. But there's a couple interesting things that happen, like I experienced on Twitter, and I think it is representative of the psychology that people have. For one, you'll have people saying things like, "Oh, you shorted, get stopped out, and now you're getting bullish at the top, right? Now you're getting bullish at the top. LOL. Now your 40K is incoming, or something like that, right? It's like, okay, I mean." And so that's sort of like the things that people struggle with, right? I don't want to get bullish at the top. I had this short idea, I got stopped out, but now I have to still wait for maybe something like this. And then the other thing is they'll say, now you're longing the top, LOL, now you're longing the top. But it's like, who cares? Just make money, right? You had an idea, it didn't work, trade a different idea. And so, you know, you took profits because you thought price was going to go lower, and it didn't. And now you kind of need to break out of a little bit of a mental barrier, which is I sold. And in some ways, you want to be right. Now, I'm not saying you specifically, but this happens to people. They want the market to somehow pat them on the back and tell them, don't worry, you did the right thing. You did the right thing at the, you know, maybe you're a little wrong, but, you know, just buy back. I'm going to come back down and you can buy back. And you're going to feel that a lot, where you're going to feel like, okay, I can make up for this by, you know, you'll see that with people, maybe they had a bearish thesis here and they just hold on to the bearish thesis all the way up to 100K. Because they just want the market to vindicate them in some way and say like, okay, maybe I was a little early with my idea, but there's still a big retracement coming. But anyways, you don't need to get back in lower than when you got out. You can just say, okay, new structure here, big bullish divergences, and I'll cut if this breaks down. I'll cut if this breaks down, and then just keep riding it up. All right, let's get into a bunch of charts. This is kind of holding up on ADA. I'm quite interested to see what happens here with Bitcoin and XRP. Members asking me to take a look at FET. I can do that. Member slash big 786, 886 rejection. Big bounce off the GP. Just pointing out, you know, people think it's such a mean. I don't even know what they think. They just think like, oh, you know, you just pull the GP. It's not that complicated. It really is not. It's such an important level. You're going to find it on the chart like 50 zillion times. Yeah, you know, there's something I want to just say, like, one of the things every chart is literally identical. There's nothing fundamentally different about how anything trades. So like, to give my thoughts on XRP here, I mean, we're identifying structure. It's one of the reasons I really like just to explain all the concepts so in depth. And I think a lot of people don't get that these concepts are just generally applicable to everything and anything. But anyways, I would just say this looks like a range. We're impulsing off the GP here. I mean, you know, this is kind of an interesting level, coming and retesting this in a range. Do we have any kind of trending, grinding structure forming? It just, this, you can see how different this chart looks. This was on the lower time frames, the 15-minute chart. Here was some rounded grinding structure, right? Just ending in a big impulse. This is just choppy ranging structure. Maybe could turn into some rounded grinding structure. This was, I would say, grindy rounded structure that ended up in a little bit of an impulse, but didn't carry very high. I would say this would have been identified as one, and probably if you were trading that for a swing impulse, ended in a stop loss or a break even. But it has such a different structure. You can just see at a glance than every other chart that is bullish. It's much more rangy. Honestly, I hate to say it, but I mean, this, let's look at your chart. You said you shared one in the Discord. I don't see it off the, you probably shared it earlier. I won't find it now. I still like this idea structurally on FET of just coming down to 50 cents. But all that would mean for me is I would just wait. If I get that level to trade, I would just trade it. If I don't, then I won't. Breaking out of this downtrending structure, retesting it. I mean, it's kind of a bullish setup here. If I was to try long on FET and we were going to make AI great again, like the most aggressive idea I would try, probably this. Come back down, retest some trending structure. Probably into just a local 786. A little deeper. Just look for signs of strength off of something like that. And just call it, you know, these types of breakouts, there's something like that. Let's see the chart you shared. Okay. So your chart is that. Okay, so you'd identified some of this kind of rounded, grindy structure. You're looking for the 15-minute retracement there. Nice little short idea. Did you take that short? All right, if we get into the 15-minute time frames here, I'm kind of curious if this was a parallel structure. I mean, yeah, there's kind of, I guess, in this environment, there's always ideas for higher lows. You know, you have like the middle of a channel here. You probably, we're right on the PLC. It's just not a lot of structure here, but it's maybe an idea with maybe a trend line confluence. PLC, trend line, GP. I mean, locally, yeah, you could say this is supportive structure. I wouldn't mind and this idea doesn't preclude going higher. Something like this, personally. Like maybe if I was to say, what if I'm interested in a short and a long setup here? But yeah, I'd say this is local support, but maybe something like this. Come and take these highs. A short with tight invalidation on a failed break of those local highs. Targeting these lows, and then just a long into a retest. Probably instead of taking the long right into the level, because you have this low to take, which would also be nice. You have to break down the trending structure a little bit. Maybe a reclaim of this would be the long trigger for that idea. Someone says Caspa also has something similar. Yeah, actually, Caspa, I did actually just glance at that not too long ago. I got in front run on a setup here. Yeah, I was thinking if we came down really quickly, we could actually still take these lows into this channel, but probably not so likely. Yeah, it's right at the GP of the move right now. Kind of getting this little double bottom here. Some nice trend line liquidity to break up out of. Maybe a triple bottom. But this would be an example of one of the setups I shared earlier, right? You have kind of a few different ways of trading this. You could wait for the local trend line breakout, but this is kind of an interesting idea right where we're at. Again, you're going to find this general idea after a big impulse on a lot of charts. It's a nice place to poke at some risk. Especially with all this trend line liquidity to take. Something you do see quite a bit though in these situations is you have like the upper area of the GP tap, and you'll get an impulse and then a retest of the trend line into the lower bounds of the GP, take these local lows again. But you could say that you could try both as well. Got stopped out. Tighten it up. When you trade GPs, how do you put your stop loss? Do you base it on lower time frame structure or previous higher time frame structure? It depends on the structure, right? It depends. It depends what's there. Sometimes just trade it really tight, and sometimes trade it under the 786 and previous structure, but sometimes there is no previous structure. Like the idea here on CAS, really, I think this is arbitrarily wide for these types of ideas. Like you're going to end up in more trades, but like staying in more trades, but I don't think it's worth it for how reactive this level is to always size them wider. I think it's a little bit better to get stopped out on a couple more of them and have them sized a little bit more appropriately with no structure here. But I think there's an argument to be made for either. Naj, Naj D doesn't short. Okay, he said he doesn't short, but he marked it for members. And he's the member that I said the other day shares a lot of setups that are really clean, and just wasn't taking some of those trades. Keep it up. You've got some nice ideas on your charts. CRV. I mean, this looks quite nice. Like it's the kind of thing you see, or you're not surprised to see for trend line continuation, for trending continuation. These sharp pullbacks, break out of some descending structure. These were the ideas I was trading on Doge, right? And just the same ideas for continuation. Impulse, GP into the trending structure, another impulse to the upside. So I have no reason not to think that's an interesting idea on CAS. Other than it doesn't align with trending structure. But it could on log scale, and it could if we fake out a breakout. Probably just gonna come look. If we take this low, I might miss the long here. Maybe write out an impulse. If we come take this low into this, I'll probably look at a long setup on CAS. Okay, let me go to CRV. Still ranging, still front run. Bouncing off the 786. Tag these highs. I'll be honest, these ranging structures are the least interesting to me right now. There might be some ideas on them, but like I would just like the lows of the range to get taken. This is not a trending structure on this time frame on the hourly chart. We might be starting a trend, but it's just when there's, for long setups, we just swept this high. It's just doesn't look so interesting to me. It could send, but you know what? Breakout, retest. This was probably a 618 region. Not quite. Yeah, I mean, if I would either look for a grinding, trending setup if that forms, or just look for retracement, maybe down back into this breakout. Take that wick, and that could be a clean idea, but preferably the lows of the range for me, honestly. But and if we break out, there's going to be setups higher, right? Oh, I think Monib says, extremely good stream, bro. Appreciate you. You are insanely good trader. You was the biggest confluence. I played out Doge with you. Insanely high risk reward setups. God bless you. Yeah, Doge ended up being a massive play. I still think we can go to all-time highs. I just wouldn't mind seeing, look at this daily chart, it's crazy. Just wouldn't mind seeing some kind of pullback here. But we might not get it. Because the whole idea for me, by the way, is based off of this. I guess I'm just going to keep turning on folders until... I think I'm actually on the wrong Doge pairing. Okay, this I need to clean up this count. I usually just hide different things. All right. Let's just get rid of some nonsense here. I still think we're at the kind of upper regions of where this impulse should be coming in for a correction. So Let me go here. I'll talk a little bit about this on Doge. Bear with me. I was kind of thinking more for the end of the year, which to hit this target like in December. But we got here a little quicker. But I mean, at the time I came up with the idea, I think December seemed insane to rally all the way up here. But I want to go, give me 1 second, everyone. So I shared this idea initially on Doge around 14 cents. It was in the Discord. I said I'll share some lower time frame thoughts on Doge next week, but looking at this structure on the higher time frame for now and open to no more deep pullbacks between now and all-time highs, depending on what happens at some local resistance above. So that's about a month ago. And just open to this ending in a really strong series of impulses, breaking out of resistance, pushing up into this channel. And one of the reasons I was looking for that is just the timing confluences here of this channel into all these key levels around 42 cents. So this is back at 14 cents. And of course, this is why I looked for continued ideas to add to my Doge longs. Caught some, and for example, I was even willing to take setups like this, which was like an 8-9% distance to stop loss. And the reason is because even this setup which we're now at, like, look how crazy this setup looks. It looks moronic on this chart at 14 cents, an 8% stop loss targeting 44 cents, 200% away. Literally exactly what happened. But just pointing out, like, you know, it's just kind of funny because you're not, you have to have a pretty strong thesis, and you just have to take a really I'd say reasonable approach to the chart to say, like, listen, if the targets here, if this is the count we're in, if the targets here are 200% away, then even this setup, trading at Y, looking for a retracement here into this 13 cents region, is a 25R setup, 25x your risk reward. And then, of course, after we broke out there, traded longs into the trending structure as well. If I go into Doge, it's just going to be long setup. Like, I was looking for this. Said, hey, I'm looking, if we sweep these daily lows, I'm going to take a long setup here. Just trying to find any setups I could. That was at 14 cents as well to keep adding to my longs. Here, again on Doge, I did that on the last live stream. This was the idea I talked about on the last live stream. That was the Pico bottom idea at 14 cents before another leg up to 40 cents. So this was the breakout idea here. This was the retest idea. We ended up getting that clean retest. But anyways, the whole point is, now we're trading. Look how many long setups there were in here. And like, this is that setup of me saying, hey, like, even longing after we take this high on like a slight pullback, a stop loss 8% away. I actually didn't end up in that trade, by the way. I ended up in a long here, took profits, didn't reopen, and then where I added was on this retracement, this little wick here for the leg up. Anyways, but this is basically a 200% straight move up into this channel. This is my main idea, and I'm looking for a correction from here down into The 30-cent region was at the time the general idea, but I have to adjust some of this because this was just a hypothetical structure. I mean, this would look so brutal on the charts and so nice in a way. I'm going to redo this whole count. I'm going to share it later. I'm going to re-look at all of this off this impulse. But this is a really corrective area on the chart, I think. I mean, this still just looks so bullish, though. So, I don't know. We'll see. But that was the ad here. So many opportunities on this Doge chart. And it's the same reason that I'm longing into XRP even up here. I'm looking for opportunities to add to my longs because it's the targets for some of the bullish ideas here. They may or may not work. There's no way to know. Are all-time highs and beyond. And so there's no reason, in my view, not to be open. And hey, that's been the case up here as well. And we had a big retracement to... I made this chart so messy. I mean, these are just massive 100R, 150R, 200R trades here, taking this long. I mean, from there. So anyways, same kind of situation as Doge. There's so many opportunities if the bullish cases play out. You just manage your risk. I wish I would have longed more on Doge, but I took some clean long setups. Yeah, just looking at this chart, I'm still interested. I think Doge is going to all-time highs, but although I might get back in here and try some stuff locally, I'm still thinking a retracement is probably due. But anyways, yeah, the reason I was looking for a sharp move up here is to come tap this level into this channel. And I had some fib timing confluences as well around here. Around December, we got there like a month earlier. But I think calling for something like this, like 300% move up on Doge within a span of a month or two, at the time seemed pretty crazy, but... Is Fartcoin a real coin? So funny. I used to use Fartcoin as my joke. I used to literally use it as my joke name for a meme coin for years, of saying like, "Oh, I just invested my life savings into Fartcoin." I should have invested my life savings into Fartcoin. It's a big grindy channeling structure. I mean, you just have trending structure, right? Maybe there's a liquidity wipe coming at some point. I would say like, I think there's almost a parallel. I have to look at it. It looks so much like this ETH fractal from a couple years ago. Hold on. I might put this fractal over it. just another thing. It's helpful when you have you know, experience is just like you spend a lot of time on the chart, you see a lot of things. Maybe good to have a good memory. Can recall a lot of different price action. This might not be as similar as I thought it was, but it looks pretty close. I guess it's going to zero. Yeah, so I'm a little at the apex of these channeling structures. I'm a little bit leery of them. It certainly could be described as a grindy uptrend, but it's not really the same as like the rounded grindy uptrend before an impulse. They can keep going. I mean, you could just say this is a channel until it's not. But I mean, if I was to take anything on this, I would wait for the deviation and take out some lows. I mean, I traded this exact setup, this the same fractal on the S&P several years ago. That's what I would say. I would say there's probably something here, but maybe even look to trade it TP into a lower high. That's 100% away. I have no idea. I'm assuming this coin is like a zero market cap or something. I don't know. Then you get worried when the trend line starts going the other way. Yeah, let me turn down my alerts. Can take a quick look at order flow as well. I don't have a primary Elliot wave count on ETH at the moment. ETH bouncing again. I mean, this is just a good example because I was looking for the retest here into the GP, but we didn't get it. But it's the same idea we talked about earlier, which is this. So on the daily chart, you have the big impulse and right into the 618 and then continuation. So it's just a higher time frame, exact same idea. It's such a strong level. I was looking for literally this to get swing long and didn't take it. I'm not sure. Someone says, genuinely grateful for all you share. One quick question. What trade taught you the most and it wasn't about money? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll look at a couple more of these charts that are being requested. Tau. T. I feel like this is something I would have charted on a live stream before. Oh, it looks like I gave the Pico bottom. You can see the origin of the line, right? This is when I charted it. And I know this is something I charted on a live stream. I wonder, maybe you were the person who requested it. Yeah, so I can already just tell what I was thinking. So I was saying is, hey, maybe this 382 holds up and we form a range and we get continuation to the upside. If this breaks down, probably just looking for this low to get taken. Reclaim it for a long setup. Sweep the low, reclaim it, trade it back up into the highs of the channel. Obviously, we went a lot higher. Tau also, is that a perfect GP tag? Maybe on some of the perp pairs. I would not be surprised. Well, this has a rounded, grindy downtrend structure forming locally. Maybe it breaks out like a little triangle, but looks kind of bearish, honestly, here. That can change pretty quickly, though. It's just really shallow trending structure. Like, it's kind of hard to imagine that we rally off a higher low here, but I guess it's possible. I like this, frankly, with the front run. From the lower pivot, I'm just going to pull this and this. I'm just going to look at a couple things. It's not a perfect retracement here, but the idea is similar. This would have been a similar idea to where it's like maybe you come up for the impulse, you take these pivot lows into the GP. We ran a little deeper before continuation, but something like this would be kind of interesting. Take these lows, or even into this local one. Probably would be the setups I'd be looking for here, or just look for more grindy, trending, rounded, bullish market structure if it forms. We could bounce from here for sure, but these types of setups after a front run. Kind of interesting. Yeah, I'll end the. I already gave my thoughts on CAS earlier. It's at a pretty nice level. thoughts on CAS? Look at order flow. Okay, I'll look at render and then order flow, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. I've been meaning to do a live stream. I've been so tired. I'll just say I've been grinding really hard. I've been not sleeping a whole lot, trying to get in the zone, doing some scalping, and yeah, feeling kind of good after the last few days, but tired. Do I not have render on here anymore? Is render the coin I think it is? It's only just on Bybit? I'm gonna say this coin's been around for a while. It's a pretty grindy structure into this impulse. Taking some major highs. Log scale GP. I mean, this is definitely major resistance for render. It's rejecting right now at the GP, forming a top. Probably could have even been a short setup up here. Start taking some shorts. Getting a little top heavy on the longs in the portfolio. Let's see where our POC is. Made a new high. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's got to be a no-go on longs. I think the only thing maybe worth trying, maybe this trend line holds up, but I kind of like the idea of wiping out some liquidity into the POC and GP off this range. The thing is, not everything. I know this is probably going to surprise people, but not everything is going to go to all-time highs, straight to all-time highs. Some stuff is just going to range. People are going to long it, and it's going to go straight down. So I know it seems like everything is kind of going up. I mean, render's been ranging here for a little bit, but everything is kind of just going straight up. But a lot of people, and this is why you get stories where they say, like, the 10 things I longed didn't go up, and everything else went up. It was the only 10 things I longed didn't go up. Everything else made new all-time highs, went up 700%, and the things I went up 30%, and then went straight down. I'm not saying render is going to do that, by the way, but what I'm saying is it's only a perception that everything is going up 5,000%, because that's all you see posted. The majority of things are not going to go up to multi-billion-dollar market caps. And so anyways, that being said, this looks really rangy. to me. And at this stage in the game, there's probably some long setups here, just like before, right? Like, I mean, I'm also interested in long setups on Doge on some of this local trending structure, but I'm also preferring a deep correction on Doge. So it could be like something similar here. Maybe there's some deeper ideas I'm not thinking about here on render, but you know, maybe some of this is worth a try. But some of these deep corrective ideas to like this trending structure, even down back into the point of control, look nice to me. If we break out, then there might be some ideas as well. But yeah, there's probably stuff here. This might not even offer a trigger though. Like we might just nuke straight through it. It's never a good sign when Bitcoin's going up and your altcoin is going down. So even just over the last, you know, couple hours, this is the render chart and this is the Bitcoin chart. So all right, I'm gonna pop into exo charts here. Yeah, so let's look at some order flow. Basically what we're seeing, and so I was pointing this out yesterday, is really aggressive longs, and it kind of looks like things look kind of toppy, and then the context changes quite quickly. So like up here, lots of aggressive longing, trap longs, but then everything just sells off, and you have massive bullish absorption. So even in this, like in this uptrend, basically this uptrend was this big aggressive longs opening, 45 million, 71 million, big aggressive closing, 50 million, 37 million, 14 million. And so this is what I was pointing out on the Discord yesterday, is these are breakout traders trading this breakout, losing money when price is going straight up, because what they're doing is their breakout trade, increase open interest, 71 million, pull back, slight little pullback on the 5-minute candle, everything closes at a slight loss, and then we kind of grind up here on relatively low volume, and then here a big 125 million positive delta candle, 665 million volume, increase in open interest, tons of risk comes in, and immediately that risk starts coming out again on this 5-minute candle. It comes out, and then some of it comes right back in. And another 36 million comes out here. And then we have another 100 million come in, and then 24 million, 51 million, 11 million comes out. So coming in, coming out. And so there's people longing and then just closing at a loss. Longing, closing at a loss. And in the end, they do that over and over again, longing and then closing at a loss. A big 87 million delta candle here, back at the lows, chasing out a bunch of these longs again. And then we just saw a massive sell-off here. But we get this big bullish divergence forming as everybody sells out of these positions. You would presume anyone who held on here, or many of the people who held on here, sold off again. Now price is rallying into more aggressive selling. And this time, let's bring this up here. We're seeing some increasing open interest into this bullish divergence. So there's people aggressively shorting. So now we kind of have the context of a potential short squeeze off this bullish divergence. This move to the downside was still a long squeeze, because you have increasing CVD, really choppy, and then decreasing open interest, decreasing delta. Now we have increasing open interest, decreasing CVD, a little bit of absorption, maybe setting up to squeeze this out a little bit. It depends. Some of my ideas are on log scale, some of them aren't. This is called exo charts, this order flow software. It's maybe $50 a month or something, but there's free versions. Sierra, Addis. I can use coinalyze.net or whatever the website is. For CBD, Go charting. Yeah. Yeah, Pepe is coming down here. But anyways, yeah, bullish divs on Bitcoin. Honestly, Bitcoin dominance looks quite nice too. The higher time frame chart. Wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin going up and some of these alts coming down. But there may be a little bit of a downtrending structure here forming on Pepe. But this is a situation here where context is so important. There's such a different context to longing, grinding, trending structure, or even longing something like this, than just buying because price it has gone down a little bit and it used to be going up. Like this just doesn't look like maybe a reclaim here could be considered deviation and whatever, but to me, something like this, yeah, I guess is more interesting. It's like another 20% pullback on Pepe. Whereas some of this grinding structure would have been kind of interesting for long setups. But, you know, maybe you could argue there's something here. I'm going to end my live stream, guys. I know there's a lot of more chart requests here, but if you want to learn more about this stuff, you can come over to the Discord. Always a fun time. Sharing most of the setups I'm trading and the reasons why, breaking down the trades I'm trading. But where I would start, if you do join and become a member, just to save you a little bit of trouble, start in the educational content, sort view by gallery, go through, read these slides, watch the videos, understand these core concepts, risk management, just by title, trading psychology. All right. Yeah, I'll be in the Discord throughout the evening. Would like to see some of this bullish structure can end in an impulse. Still ideas of coming back down to these levels still, but I prefer seeing the bullish divs play out. They either will or they won't. They look quite well defined.